Hello and welcome to February. I think January was a strange month because there are some people that felt that it went really quickly, that it was quite smooth, couldn't believe that that's the beginning of what this year was like. And then there was others that thought it was the longest month of the year. So um, we're through that month now. However, it worked for you. You survived and take the time just to kind of reflect on how you felt about that month and why it felt to go so fast or why it felt to go so slowly. I found that I was just very content. And so each day I was present and just paying attention to what I needed to pay attention to. And I wasn't worrying about what happened yesterday and I wasn't concerning myself with what was going to happen tomorrow. And I found that even though like I wasn't bored, right, which is not normal, but even though I wasn't trying to plan for the future or worry about what was happening, it was just like moving swiftly because I was present. But I think a lot of people, they were trying to be present too, and then it really just dragged because of that. So yeah, just for curiosity's sake, just dig into that and see why and how you feel about it and why you would or wouldn't want to go back. Okay. So this month I did a little bit of a channel on someone asked me a question on Instagram. And so I did a little bit of a channel today. And it actually worked out to be the theme, which is quite interesting, with being in the new quarter of the moon. With a new moon, we always put forth what we want, right? And that's what we've been doing for all of 2024. And that's what we've been talking about, that 2025 is going to be ushering in and bringing in what we want. Right, to help us to finish the cycle that we're in. And so basically what's happening right now is that we're working through what it is that we want. But of course, we're going to come up to barriers, right? We're going to come up to things where we're going to have to work through. We're going to have to ask ourselves questions. I want this, but I need to get rid of that. Or I would like this, or, I want to move forward with this, but this is holding me back. And so this month is going to be taking it easy on yourself, like I always say, right? And really exploring the difference between what you want and what you believe versus what you were taught and what you feel or have been told that you should believe. Okay. This I think is interesting because I didn't start channeling this till about 5 minutes ago. And with our theme for this month being the ego and personal balance, that was kind of the whole idea that I wanted to really explore was taking a look at, who are you? What's your personality? And then where do the roadblocks lie within yourself, right? And really learning how to be okay with kind of digging into that and asking yourself the questions, why does this really why does this live in me? Why does this reside in me? Why am I still holding this? Or, do I want to keep this? Am I okay with, the comfortable space that it's keeping me in? Or do I want to release it and really, really grow? Now, gotta say that just because you want to stay, right, doesn't mean that you're not doing what you should be. It doesn't mean that you're not growing. It's just you're allowing yourself some extra time to kind of sit within it, right? And that's okay too, because sometimes we really need to sit within something before we can decide to keep it or to let it go, right? Especially if it's something like a core belief or something that's really, really deep that we've just been shown. Yeah, to want to get rid of it right away is not the normal situation, I would say. So if you feel like getting rid of it right away, then go ahead. That's perfect. You were ready, obviously. But if not, then, just take the time to be gentle with yourself. Okay, so with digging into and asking ourselves the questions, this is not to be with judgment. Okay, this is not to be where you're looking for something wrong, you're looking for something to fix, you shouldn't be looking for anything. You're more or less just asking yourself the questions to discover kind of what is in there and what it's doing, how it's just hanging around, or if it's really affecting you. Maybe some of these things are something that you choose to pay attention to every single day subconsciously, right? So yeah, start asking yourself those questions and start writing them out a little bit. So the teaching this month will be on ego and personal balance. So of course, digging into those is going to be part of our teaching, but at the same time, it's more or less to be able to recognize and acknowledge and accept and kind of read into it for what it is rather than, the way that we normally do. So until then, just start noticing a few things, right? I want to be rich, but then at the same time, I hate rich people. I think they're horrible. Well, where did that come from and why? You know what I mean? I want to be healthy, but at the same time, I worry that if I'm fit and beautiful, that, you know, someone's going to hurt me, because that's what happens to fit and beautiful women. Where do these come from, right? What are some of these, where are some of the ties that you can link back to different parts of your life that may, you know, re-expose, you know, a lesson that you learned that maybe you chose a different route to go on, right? Or you know, maybe a trauma you experienced, or, you know, a teaching that a parent gave you that you just never really looked into again. You just never really thought of it because you accepted it at that time. And like we've always talked about, and everybody knows, we don't always go back to get rid of what we don't need anymore, right? So, yeah, I think it would be a fun exercise. It's something that we should be doing for ourselves all the time, to be perfectly honest. I mean, how often do you actually question yourself, right? And do it lovingly, because this whole journey, this whole spirituality and spiritual journey, so many people think that we're doing this to fix ourselves, right? That there's something wrong, that if I can fix it and figure it out, if I can shift this, if I can shift that, then life will be easy. Then I'll figure out the whole point of it all, and I'll understand it, and I'll be able to move forward. When really the basis of spirituality is to get to know yourself at your core, right? You're here to learn lessons, you're here to experience, but you don't remember why you came here and why you chose all of these things to teach you, right? And so digging in and learning a little bit about yourself and understanding your personality, understanding your ego and why it's trying to keep you safe, understanding your fears and your loves and all of those things is just a deeper way of living, right? Because so many people just go forward knowing, hey, I'm Rose, right? I don't need to get to know myself. I don't need to know anything about myself. There are people who react to me this way, and there's people who react to me that way. Well, that's their problem, not mine, right? When really I could really get to know who I am, and, you know, out of curiosity and growth, figure these different things out so I can live happier or live lighter, or, you know, help more people, or do different things, right? Spend more time, more quality time with the people that I love, or find more people to spend time with, right? It's it's interesting how just because we don't remember where we came from and who we've been, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't really be paying attention to where we're at and who we are right now. Okay. So really take some time and think about that. I've been reading The Seat of the Soul, and it's actually quite good. I really like this one part where it explains that you come here with a veil. You come here not remembering who you are, because in order to learn the lesson that you came to learn, you need to forget. So you don't remember any other experiences that you've had, so you can experience that lesson from a viewpoint that is not tainted, right? That basically has no knowledge of what it is. And in that experience and in that learning is how you get to know who you are. It's how you understand how you react in a situation when you don't have the experience, right? And so I found that very intriguing. I found that to be so gracefully put, to really put into perspective that, yeah, learning who you are and getting to know yourself is like the greatest pleasure, or the greatest, I can't think of the word, the greatest gift maybe that that this life can hold for you, right? Yeah, we all have marriages, and or have had marriages, or have relationships with siblings or friends, and we work really hard to get to know them and treat them right and do the things. And yeah, I think we need to start doing that for ourselves. Okay, so um yeah, this also ties into, you know, getting used to asking yourself questions. I mean, if I could write a book on questions to ask yourself, I think that would be great. You know, a question a day. Find one of those books. What's a question a day that you can ask yourself that will help you to get to know yourself better? And that can really even get down to like, what do I like to eat? Or what did I used to like to eat? You know? just silly things that, yeah, that maybe you might find little hidden gems in. All right, so new quarter, new moon, bringing in more of what we want, which is going to in turn show us our roadblocks. Okay, so do be gentle on yourself over the next month. If you're trying to do things and you keep hitting those roadblocks, you keep hitting like bumps in the road, maybe just take a step back, right? Taking a step back and being passive to the situation is not giving up. It is honestly one of the strongest things you can do, because if you can take a step back and allow any emotions of frustration or anything along those lines just to subside for long enough for you to be able to remove yourself from the situation and look back in on it, you might be able to see what the barriers are. Okay, especially if you're doing this self-exploration, see what the barriers are, and then that way maybe you'll be able to put together a game plan, right? Sometimes we have large barriers because it's not time for us to move past them. If we move past them, we'll miss the lesson. Or maybe if we move past them, we're not going to see the reason that we're there and we're not going to understand it, right? Which would in turn make us have to go through the whole cycle again. So sometimes those large barriers that are stopping you are really there just to make sure that you got it. Okay, so one example I can give you is probably for the past, from the summertime through to the end of the year. So it probably started in like June. They told me to stop. I wasn't to start anything new. I was just to kind of putter along and do my thing. I was supposed to take it easy on my nervous system. I was supposed to like not exercise strongly. I was supposed to walk. I was supposed to do stretches, if anything. Okay. I was supposed to read. I was supposed to maybe try to find some new hobbies, but even then, not start anything new that was going to take a lot of effort. I was supposed to be quiet. I was supposed to be still. I was supposed to do nothing. It was the boringest, longest 6 months of my entire life. Okay. Now, that barrier was huge for me. I tried to succumb to it. I tried to just accept it and, just roll with it, which I did end up doing. But there are times where I was just like, I just wanted to move forward and do the things that I wanted to do. And with the business and with this mentorship group and all those kind of things, I wanted more. I wanted to be this, right? That's the way my brain works. And my brain was working that whole time doing that. But that roadblock was stronger than my brain. A barrier was stronger than my brain. And so finally, come the end of December, I coasted right into January. And then all of a sudden, this energy came. And the amount of things that I have accomplished this month and the few, or last month, and the few things that I've actually figured out and shifted and moved forward from have been, it's just insane. I honestly, and it all happened in probably the last week of January. And honestly, I am so grateful for those 6 months, because I can't really explain to you what shifted. I can't really explain to you what changed. I know what I did release, but at the same time, I don't know that my body would have been able to release that if I was as stressed as I normally was. You know what I'm saying? So those barriers, those roadblocks, when they're there, sometimes we really need to acknowledge them and then just take a step back and ask the questions, right? Ask of ourselves, this has got to be big. Why is this big? How am I feeling about this? Why might this be an issue? Oh, I've lost my camera here. Hold on a second. I'm coming back. Don't worry. It'll come back here. All right, you got my bad camera. So I apologize for this. So when those barriers are as large as they feel sometimes, okay, understanding, oh, here's my other camera, understanding and knowing that there's something more happening behind the scenes that you're just unsure about, yeah, that's the time to start reaching out to people, right? Reach out to me, ask me the question through DM, go through some of the questions that you may have for yourself and bring them up, right? That's what the community can be for. And maybe someone might have some insight into, you know, some questions you might need to ask yourself or different things like that. Maybe they might have a viewpoint of your situation that you just can't see because you're in it all the time, right? Speaking to the people in our lives, especially the people who know us, can be it can be very enlightening. It can be quite amazing for you know, self-exploration, because those people actually know us a lot better than we potentially know ourselves, right? They're used to seeing us for who we are and seeing us for how we act when we're not at our best. And that can be the best time for someone to tell you a little bit more about yourself. You know what I mean? So do ask the questions, prepare yourself for sure, because sometimes when we ask questions, we're not necessarily prepared for the truth. So make sure that whoever you're asking, you're not going to get mad at them. Okay. All right. Let's see what else they have to say. I feel that that's going to be quite a big thing, and it's going to be something that we'll be able to continue through. I feel that asking questions of yourself or asking questions of myself, I think will definitely be something that I'm going to continue to do each month. I think maybe just seeing some of the barriers or situations that I worked on last month and seeing if I can get a little bit further and figure out what else I can see. So yeah, let me know what some of the challenges that you've had have been, or let me know some of the questions that you may have discovered that you wanted to ask yourself. And yeah, if you found any answers to anything, because I love hearing about how you guys are doing. Okay, let's see what else I got. Just wanted to say that the circle last week was amazing. Thank you, ladies, again for joining. We're not going to be recording those circles because I do feel that, you know, that should be sacred for sure. But yeah, it's definitely something that I really enjoyed, getting to know you guys a little bit better and you guys getting to know each other. I think it's going to be quite exciting. And that's really going to lead into a little bit more of what we're seeing and what we're doing, right? What we're exploring this month with ego and relationships with ourselves and creating that personal balance. Because each month is going to be different. Technically, each day is going to be different, right? It always can feel a little bit daunting, but most of the time this too shall pass, that kind of idea, right? Okay. I think that's it for this channeling. Well, thank you again for being here with me. Sorry about the camera. And let me know if you have any questions about any of this stuff. Yeah, I'd love to be of help if there's anything you need. All right. Have a great February. We'll talk to you soon.